What's going on, Cubs fam? We are back for another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and my friends, today's video is going to be happy because we're going to think about one of the hopefully happiest things that we could ever see in this game, and that is Jedi Luke. We've been speculating about Jedi Luke for a long time, and I think with this whole Galactic Legends thing, there's a really good chance that we see him at some point. The devs have confirmed we're going to have additional Galactic Legends. They're going to come in pairs, and if they're going to do other ones, it would blow my mind if they didn't do Jedi Luke. And so, why talk about this now? Because a lot of you really want to be ready for Jedi Luke when he comes, and I actually think we can use it. CG works in precedent, especially with these kind of events. In the event that Jedi Luke comes, I have a hard time seeing him come in any other style of event than Galactic Legends because of the way they set it up as the main, climactic character of the whole trilogy kind of thing. I could see them doing that probably for the prequel trilogy and probably for the original trilogy with Jedi Luke and maybe a new version of Darth Vader being with it. But in this video, we're going to focus on Jedi Luke and some farming decisions you can make now as a free-to-play player to get ready in advance. Now, again, you're going to need to take a lot of this with a grain of salt because we're 100% speculating. But I'm going to make some farming recommendations for you guys that I think are pretty safe bets. And that if you look at what they do in the game right now are just smart to farm anyway. So that you can ideally be ahead of the curve and have less distance to cover. I think it's probably worth noting, however, you're going to have distance to cover no matter what. It's just inevitable that they're going to put some marquee characters in there, etc. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but some characters I think are locks for this kind of event. I just don't see how they would do it any other way. Let me walk you through my logic. Here are the current requirements for the current Galactic Legends we have got. All of them. Now, we're just going to focus on Rey for now. Rey, we're going to compare Rey to what Galactic Legend Luke or Jedi Luke would potentially look like. Now, with these Galactic Legends, boom, you got some marquee characters, right? And so I think this is inevitable. You've got 4 marquee characters, 2 for each. So let's just take those out. We're only going to worry about 10 characters for now. I think it's worth noting, however, that for Luke, who knows? Maybe they'll add more marquee characters. Maybe he'll have 4 marquee characters needed. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be 2. Because they're doing it in pairs, I think they kind of pushed us to the brink monetization-wise here. So I don't want to think that they could go farther than that. But I probably shouldn't say that out loud because that probably means they will. So. I'm sorry if they do that because of this video. They probably won't. So, let's think about what Luke would potentially look like. Now, I think the 2 most slam dunk possible characters that you are there's no way that they're going to do a Galactic Legend event for the original trilogy without these 2 characters being needed for Jedi Luke, and that is the prior versions of Luke. We've got CLS, we've got Farm Boy Luke. Now, CLS is one of the best investments in this game. Right now, in my account, he's only gear 12. It would be absolutely sensible to take him to gear 13. And then that's one less character in the event that Jedi Luke comes that you wouldn't need to farm. Right now, I've had like my entire First Order team. I mean, if you look at First Order and Resistance, you go back to this, almost all of these characters are gear 12 for me. But the distance is insurmountable because I don't have any of them at gear 13. And a lot of these characters, take the marquee characters out, they've been in the game for quite some time. 10 of them, 20 total for both. And so there's a lot of potential farming opportunities that are going to be there right now. These 2 characters, I think, are the most obvious out of the entire set. CLS Slam Dunk, good farm, no questions asked. I have got 0 reservations telling you guys to take your Luke to relics. Farm Boy Luke is a bit different. Now, I think once we do have this Galactic Legend event for Jedi Luke, assuming it does come, he's definitely going to be needed. The question is, how worth it is it to relic your Farm Boy Luke right now? Not nearly as effective as relicking your CLS. However, he does have some great ramping damage. Could be a nice character to throw into your roster. I personally am not panic farming my Farm Boy Luke right now, and I don't endorse that as much for the meantime because who knows? maybe you could get ready for this Galactic Legends Luke event, and it might not come for 2 years. You know, so what are you going to do with Farm Boy in the meantime? Remains to be seen. But somebody in the comments, maybe somebody like Clash, maybe there's some anti-meta team that he's working great in. I don't know. Maybe it's worth taking him up a little bit, but I would say CLS is at least one character you can say definitively, let's take him to Relics. Now, we also have companions with Rey that are very notably included in here. How about these guys? Han, Leia, R2-D2. These guys are almost as much of a lock, I would say, as Farm Boy Luke was. Now, the question I would say with Leia is, which version of Leia are they going to do? Are they going to do the OG Leia or Rebel Officer Leia? Potentially both. So this is where it gets a lot more speculative, and I would say, maybe proceed with caution with those. So Leia, I'm not as sold on actually going for that, because who knows? I feel like they do the original version of Leia, but you just don't know. Han and R2-D2, however, I think are very safe. And of course, Han Solo, having him at Relic, if you don't have him at Relic already, one of the best Relic investments in this entire game. So CLS and Han, very much, very, very much worth the investment right now. And then you don't have to worry about it later. R2-D2 is the same way. R2-D is the same way. There's no way. I mean, R2-D2 is probably going to be needed at Relic 7 like BB-8 is. BB-8 is what R2-D2 is to Luke as BB-8 is to Rey. That would almost indefinitely or inevitably be needed, R2-D2. There's other companions here that are kind of obvious, right? Old Ben and Chewbacca. I think Chewbacca's a lock. Chewbacca's a lock, and also, just like Han, very, very solid Relic investment. So CLS, Han Solo, Chewbacca, R2-D2, I'm going to say all of those guys are almost locks for Galactic Legends Luke, assuming he comes, and all of them are very solid Relic investments right now. And so assuming there are 12 characters needed, that's 4 characters, in theory, you could have checked off your box by the time that comes. And I have such a hard time seeing them doing a Galactic Legends Luke event without those 4 characters needed. Old Ben's pretty close, too. Old Ben was the hero's journey mentor that inevitably has to die. So there's 5 characters. Old Ben, also a very solid investment. Versatile investment. You could put him in a Rebel team. You could put him in a Jedi team. He's going to work great. And so I think Old Ben, also very solid. And I'm theorizing on where the relics need to be. I think if you do this, if you start farming this direction, trying to get preemptively ready for Galactic Legends Luke, you probably don't need to worry too much about the relics for now. Once you get them to Gear 13, the relic distance is a little more manageable. Just getting to Gear... If you're taking everyone, even from just Gear 12 to Gear 13, it can be pretty messy. And then it gets a lot more hairy. Then we've got a lot of Rebel characters currently in the game that make sense. A lot more than we have for Rey. And so this is where I think there's a lot more give on what could potentially come. And I kind of lean towards which characters are not as used in the game. So you've got like Hoth, Rebel, Scout, and Soldier. You've got some generic characters that Rey needed. Resistance Pilot, Resistance Trooper. I think it would be pretty likely that Hoth Rebel Scout and Hoth Rebel Soldier were needed because they're the generic characters that are loosely connected to Luke, that are at least in the original trilogy with him, and not very many people have them. They're going to want to give those characters that not a lot of people have. Farming them now, though, probably not what I want to do. I would focus first, if you're going to do this and farm this direction, I would absolutely focus first on those slam dunk characters that also give you a ton of use. But if you want to overachieve, I think there's a pretty good chance that for this kind of event, Hoth, Rebel, Scout, and Soldier would be needed. At a minimum, if you're really overachieving, you just take them up to Gear 12. Have them ready, and you may be able to find extra use for them. But a big caveat to taking Hoth, Rebel, Scout, and Hoth, Rebel, Soldier there is going to be there's just very limited use for them. You don't want to inflate your roster. You don't want to worry about things like, bad Grand Arena matchmaking, which I think we all have to worry about either way, but you could really skew that when you start taking up characters that have no use to Gear 13. So I'd proceed with caution on that. But if I'm going to be a betting man, I would bet that those 2 characters would probably be needed. Then you got characters like Lando, Stormtrooper Han, Captain Han. I don't have C-3PO right here, but C-3PO is probably one that is pretty decently possible. I think R2-D2 is the stronger chance for droid, but maybe C-3PO there as well. A little bit unsure on those. It's kind of like a gambling at that point. Which one are they going to choose? They could justify any of them. And so if we're going to look at which characters are less farmed, Lando's a character a lot of old-time players in this game have at least Gear 11 because he used to be meta, but a lot of the newer players just haven't ever had a reason to farm him. So Lando, I think, is actually pretty likely. Stormtrooper Han, a lot more have farmed him, and we found some recent use for him, and so I'm not sure if he would be needed. Captain Han, however, I think there's a good chance that they take him there. We'll see, and then maybe we have both versions of Han and both versions of Leia, right? You got your Captain Han, or sorry, when I say both versions of Han, I mean Captain Han and Han Solo, and then maybe you have Rolo and the original Leia, something like that. Again, highly speculative. And so, in summary, here's the characters in yellow that I think are slam dunk farms. If you want to get ready, take CLS, Han Solo, Farm Boy Luke, Leia, Chewbacca, Old Ben, R2-D2. That's 7 characters out of the theoretical 12 that will be needed. Now, obviously, we're gonna have marquee characters in there. We don't know exactly how many that will be at some point. And so there's just going to be that certain element of you can't prepare. But once again, if you look at the Galactic Legends, all of these characters were available for a long time. And if we had the foresight, you could have been farming them this entire time. So there's bound to be characters like that for Luke that you can start farming now. These are the characters that I think are pretty safe bets if you want to beat the curve, beat the system, stick it to CG free-to-play players, and be at least more ready than the average person would be. I think this is a safe way to do it. So, my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I know, very speculative, not something that I think I could say with 100% surety. But when it comes to those characters, I think it's very, very solid to have them anyway. It's almost 100% sure that they'd be needed for Galactic Legends, Luke, if that event comes. So why not? Why not farm them? Why not? Just do it. Just do it. All right, my friends, thank you so much for coming for the video. If you did like it, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, my brothers, don't forget